Hi, everybody. It's Babos. It's Friday. It's May. Oh my God, it's May. The lusty month of May. I don't feel very lusty right now, but um, with nod to Camelot, I guess everybody should know that. But it's May, what is it, May 3rd or something like that? I never know the date. It's terrible. Welcome to episode 207, I think, 206, 207 of our weekly Zoomcast that we put up on YouTube, and we also have a podcast series that eventually this will become part of. Been doing this. Why? Why do I do this? Why have I done this every week consecutively for 207 weeks? It was because of COVID. It was because of quarantine. It was basically April 17th, 2020. I finally decided to do something other than sit around moping about why I can't run my company because I can't go outside of my apartment and I can't do any programming. So we met Zoom. Hello, Zoom. Thank you for having us, Zoom. So we met Zoom, and we decided, well, we'll open up a room and we'll basically have people talk about what we're going through. I never expected this to expand to an international, a global thing. But being on virtual, it did become apparent that people were coming in to the room who were not necessarily in New York or New York City. So we started seeing people from the West Coast, from Canada, from Germany, from England, from Australia, Singapore, actually, Malaysia, and we have just succumbed to the lure of being global. We now just say, hey, we're global. We're no longer a small little New York arts organization. We actually have people that are aware of us and part of our community that are everywhere, even in Tennessee.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So we're going to come back to Tennessee in a second. I'm going to introduce you to Tammy Pierchoski. I'll get it. Pierchoski, right?
Correct.
Is that close? That's it, right?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was so afraid that I was going to get it wrong. Pierchoski. I'm just, I'm intimidated by consonants. What can I tell you? So we're going to talk to Tammy in a moment. I just wanted to thank everybody who stumbles upon us in YouTube land or stumbles upon us in our podcast. And I want to welcome you and invite you to be part of the community. If you want to come in and be part of the room and actually be part of the conversations and meet the people that I bring in from now all over the world, email me. It's very simple. Email me at trunltd@aol.com. That's trunltd@aol.com. So we've got all sorts of conversations planned for the weeks ahead, including next week we're going to be interviewing Joanna Gleason, Tony Award winner, pretty well known in theater. I'm kind of like really excited. But today we're going to talk about Tennessee. We're going to talk about Pulaski. I'm going to bring Tammy in here for a second. And not for a second, I'm going to bring her in here for an hour. So Tammy Pierchoski, you're in Pulaski, Tennessee. And right now you are sitting in the upstairs, one of the upstairs rooms of the Opera House in Pulaski that currently serves as a theater space and has for like it's 20 years now.
On the lower level, yes.
On the lower level.
Upstairs, right. Upstairs where I am now, it's pretty much looks like a bombed out shell of an interior.
And the goal is to make
it not that.
make it not that. We can
No,
be as specific as to
right.
say make it not that.
Sure. We are absolutely 100% going to restore it. It's not an if, it's a when. It was built in 1868. It closed in the 1930s and they never looked back. They boarded it up, walked away, and here sat this building on our square that everyone forgot about.
Well, I'm gonna go, and I hope this is insensitive, but I want to just say, um, opera in a small town in Tennessee, how popular is it?
It actually, even though it is called an opera house, not much opera was performed here. It
Ah,
was mainly vaudeville, traveling shows from New York and Chicago would come down. And then the local theater was here. It was used as a community gathering space, but it was built as a grand opera hall with a full horseshoe balcony, raked stage, gas globe footlights at the foot. If you go to our website, we have an absolutely stunning 360-degree interactive video, and you can just put your finger on it and look at the entire room. We had a photographer in Nashville did that for us, and it's just stunning. So you can kind of get a look of exactly what it looks like now, but it looks much like this lath and plaster wall that you see behind me in one of the anterooms.
but downstairs you've renovated so it's a comfortable theater space.
Yes.
Do you want to show us? You want to show us the
Oh,
theater
well,
space?
I actually don't have pictures of that. I do have rehearsal going on downstairs, which is why I'm up here
Oh,
tonight. But actually, this was Antoinette Hall back in the day, if you can see.
yes.
Okay.
So
So again, website will do you great things. I am not tech savvy, so but that
it's not the full block, but
it's a good portion of it. It's
it
about
is
a good third of it. Mhm.
okay.
And our nonprofit actually owns two buildings, the hall, the building that Antoinette Hall is in, and then also it owns the corner building right beside it, which is where I am right now, upstairs.
So you have done some work on the main floor to create a space for theater and I guess mostly theater as I understand it.
Yes,
When did that happen? When who who was it who said this is crazy that this building is not being used at all? Let's do something.
right.
And when was that?
So our crazy story, back 17 years ago, we were a tiny little theater company that was operating out of a little town called Linville, Tennessee, just north of us. And we were literally breaking fire codes with our cast. That's how tiny this theater space was. And we had a lot of children wanting to come and participate. So a lot of us were parents of young children. That's how I got brought into it. I did theater in college and painted sets and did makeup. And I always had a love for it, but my kids just were not athletically inclined whatsoever and leaned toward the arts. So we got involved with this little theater group. Well, we outgrew the space, and a friend of ours had just purchased about a year before an old clothing store on our downtown square that went out of business, and it sat empty for several months. And as you know, no one likes downtown squares to have emptiness going on, so he agreed to lease the building to us for a year, and see what we could do with it. So our board came and we looked downstairs, and it's a massive building. I mean, it's huge. And it's very deep. It runs, like on a block. It goes very deep as well. In fact, our backstage area for our cast and crew is every bit as big as the front of the house. So we came into the building and looked at it and thought, this is amazing. We can absolutely do something with this space. And then we're literally out on the bed of his pickup truck ready to sign the lease. And I looked up and I saw this mansard roof on the top of this building, like this giant, beautiful mansard roof. And I'm like, okay, that's what's going on upstairs. It looks like there's a second floor that's pretty tall, although our ceilings downstairs are very tall as well. And he said, I don't know, I haven't been up there. Yeah, this man actually just buys and sells property, had no clue what was even upstairs. So he said, there's an old padlock on an old door, and I don't have the key to it. Let me get bolt cutters and we'll trek up the stairs to see what's up there. So we did. It was freezing cold February morning. We trekked up the stairs. He cut the lock. We went to the end of the hallway, and here are these massive double doors, like 10-foot double doors nailed shut in front of us, which was over the Opera House building that we were buying. He pried those open, and we had one flashlight. And when he spun that flashlight around, and I saw beams and stuff on the floor, like debris everywhere, and I'm like, good gracious, this is a mess. and he turned it around. And when he hit the stage and I realized it was a stage, I just lost it. I sat down on the floor, and I mean, it was like tears. I couldn't believe, and I'm scared to death, thinking he's going to say, "Forget it, I'm keeping it." But instead, he helped me off the floor, and he said, "I think you found your home." And from
Wow.
that point on, this man just made every effort to try to help us raise money and be able to afford to purchase the building for the exact, well, actually, he gave us $20,000 off of what he purchased it for as his gift.
Wow.
Yes. So we went into lease to purchase, and within, well, and believe it or not, in 2019, we paid the building off. We own it
Well,
outright.
let's separate the conversation for a second. So
Yeah,
we're talking about the opera house and the building and all that. The company is STAAR, STAR,
that, that's correct. That stands for,
Southern Tennessee
yeah,
Area
Arts
Arts
Repertory.
Repertory. Okay. I actually remember some of that.
You did. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that was what the company was before you moved to Pulaski, or did the name come
Well,
about when you moved?
yeah, STAAR is our DBA, actually. It was the Linville Area Arts Association, and we still are that. But because we moved to a regional, like central location, we didn't want to be affiliated with a town like that. So we changed it to something broader, which was the Southern Tennessee Area Arts Repertory, which
Which
conveniently
just by
spells
coincidence says
yeah,
Star. Just
STAAR. Yeah.
who knew?
Imagine that. Yeah. So yes, we were excited about that. And I've got a really cool story too. On the website, there's a couple pictures of this, but we had someone pull up some of the boards on the stage, because like I said, it's this old deep raked stage. And they pulled up some of these boards, and we're looking around underneath there. And all of a sudden he shoves this thing, this big heavy metal thing, out from under the stage. And here it's this iron, it's a chair, and it's got the wooden back seat and the flat seat that folds down, and the little hat hook underneath it for the gentleman's hats. We believe it's like 1900s, early 1900s. But on the back of this, the back of the chair, the backrest is a punched out pattern of a star.
Oh,
Isn't that great?
how convenient.
I know. So just all those great meant to be kind of things.
That
So we
definitely
put,
sounds like it was meant to be. It
it
does.
was, yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about your company, and then come back to the building, and the ambitions for the building. Um,
Yeah.
your company was created in Linville, and when was that?
That would have been, gosh, 1998, I believe is when it began. I was not there at the very beginning. I got involved about 2005. 2005 is when I came on board.
And at what point did you take a leadership position with the company?
2006.
What took you so long?
It's one of those that you walk into a meeting space and they just see the fresh blood in the water. New person, reel her in. She's got 3 kids. She'll be here forever. And they were right. I was, and I fell in love with it. And they brought me in as vice chair. And the week after they brought me in, the chairman of the board got transferred to Colorado. So,
Well,
ta-da, I am now the chairman of the board. And I've just been there yeah, like a week. It was
so
a little nuts.
so let's talk a little bit about theater and community. Um, Tell me, how did your company, how did the company interact with the community? And I think the specific thing I would love to learn from you. We have people in the room, from all over the world. We have Germany, and we have all over the place. LA, who knows? Somebody's here from North Carolina, just a stone's throw from you.
Right.
And what was it that you thought the purpose of the company should be, when you first became part of it? And has any of that evolved or changed over the years?
I believe the purpose was to give young people an opportunity to gain some confidence, to learn more about themselves, to learn more about each other, learn how to work together. People who Our athletes have no clue that theater is a team sport. We teach that every day here. And the fact that we do a lot with young people, training them young. Right now, this production we have going on, our 14 and olders are the creatives, and they did everything from designing the costumes to sewing the costumes to doing the set. We have 4 teenage boys in the tech booth learning how to do tech. We have a team that is working on advertising, learning how to go, put the program together, how to talk to people about buying ads in the program.
How
We train them
old? How old are they?
12 to 16, this group is.
Oh,
And we
16.
have
Okay.
25 of them. But 12 to 16 is the age bracket there.
I mean, I'd love to give an ad campaign to 8-year-olds, but I'm not sure what would happen.
You know what? It's shocking. They have their finger on everything. They know. I mean, they know. In fact, these young ones are into that social media. They kill it on there.
They
So
know it better than we do.
they do. They do. But no, as far as the evolution of it goes, I feel like we've evolved even more into an educational arts center for them, because there's not, unfortunately, our school systems don't really support the arts as much. They have choices to make, and a lot of times they don't get opportunities.
And it's not just your school system,
I
it's
know.
throughout the
I
entire
know.
country. This country does not
Yeah.
support the arts.
Right. Yeah. So
There, I
I
said it.
homeschooled. I know they don't. I homeschooled our children, and they were very into the arts. I mean, that was definitely something that they were into, and we were very experimental in a lot of things, and we searched out opportunities for them to, be with people, because they say, "Oh, you're just antisocial if you're not letting your kids be a part of the school system." Well, we had a pretty horrific school shooting here the year that our first child was supposed to start school, and it kind of trigger shied us a little bit, and we thought, you know what, we're college educated, we can do this, and we did it with 3 of them. So, and they all grew up to be wonderful, productive human beings, and we're grateful for that. And but the opportunity let us seek out the arts a little bit more, and I think that's how we became involved. And then now, all 3 of them are grown and gone, and we've been here for 8 years past that. So these kids that come into the theater have become our kids. They just become part of your family. The parents are part of your group. Now, it's nothing for us to have 100 children come out to audition for a show. And when that happens, we sit down with the parents and say, we will not turn a child away, but you have to help. We need you to volunteer, and we need you to step up and help. And I wanted to tell you also that our organization is a volunteer organization as well. These are people who don't get paid. They just come in and give their time. The only pay we have right now is our technical director, and occasionally an outside director if we have someone come in. But every other position here at the theater, hundreds of hours, is volunteer. But their hearts are absolutely 1000% in it. And the pay they get is that laughter and that applause and seeing their child on that stage, knowing that they had a hand in getting them there. It's just amazing. It's such a culture of love and support, and for all walks of life. I mean, we have everybody come here.
So basically, the functioning artistic staff they're all kids. They're all young people. I
On
shouldn't say
this
kids.
show,
Do you have any shows where you engage the adults of the community?
we have 5 adult directors that rotate. This is
Okay.
a unique situation on this particular production. But no, we just wrapped up Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, an 8-show run last 2 weekends ago, and it was spectacular.
And
Really, really wonderful.
how is the community support?
It's odd, because before COVID, we were selling shows out and had to add more weekends. Since then, it's been a little difficult. Honestly, it's been harder to get people to come out. We have more people coming from outside of our area. We're on the border of Alabama and Tennessee, so we're directly south of Nashville, about an hour and 15 minutes, and we're about 10 minutes off the interstate. So we're an easy drive, and we're about an hour north of Huntsville, Alabama. So we've got some really huge cities to pull from, and all of the little surrounding communities and counties. Most of the people who come to our shows are from those areas. We're in a pretty rural farming community. Our city has about 8,500. So we're a little small.
So what other cultural opportunities are there in your area? How and are there other companies that do other things, even if it's just an orchestra or whatever? What is the arts like? I guess my point here is because we're now global and we're just not New York centric, I like to find out as much as I can about other areas of the world, the country and the world. And I wanted to get a sense of what it's like in Pulaski, as somebody who loves the arts.
There is not much to offer. We have a dance studio across the street that does competition and leisure dance. We have about 6 teachers who teach everything from acting for the camera to painting classes. We just want to, encompass all of the arts. We have a culinary artist that wants to come in. We're wanting to put a kitchen in for him. We want to start a youth orchestra and an adult one. The college we had was Martin Methodist College right across the street, and they sold to University of Tennessee. So now we have UT Southern, which is right, across the street from us. And we are hoping to really start drawing in students from there, working with their faculty that are in the arts. Unfortunately, right now they have a vocal director, a show choir director, a pianist, and that's it. They don't have an orchestra. They don't have, it's really, they're kind of getting their wheels under them. I get that, but I just really would love for them to expand their programming so we can get an orchestra to do some live shows. That's a tough one for us because we have to pretty much use canned music because we just can't, the musicians just aren't around here. You'd have to go north to get them.
I admire you very much for doing this because you're doing something that's difficult to begin with, but you're doing it in an area that is certainly makes it harder. It must be.
Mhm.
How have you kept going? I mean, you're so positive and you love what you're doing so much. And it seems like there's so many frustrations
Oh yeah.
that could be in
Yeah.
your way.
The biggest frustration, as much as we really try to support local, we shop here, we, support the local stores in the area because you have to do that on a square. You have to do that in your small town to keep things going. We have a 21 person county commission that makes, and most of them are farmers, and the arts mean nothing to them. So the support from the county government is just not, it's not even, there is none. The city, on the other hand, they're a little more youthful and proactive, and they kind of have some foresight. But, being in a small rural community, you've got schools that were built in the 70s that need severe updates. We have no housing. We're smack dab between the 2 largest growing counties in Alabama and in Tennessee. We're right between the 2, and things are coming this way. I mean, we have stars pop down from Nashville all the time, just walking around the square, looking around, going, "Ooh, what can we buy down here?" And it's trickling south. We have lots of them own property just to the town north of us. So we want to be prepared. And what I've tried to explain to the county commission is that if you do things correctly and you put in your infrastructure, your town won't be overrun. You just have to do it the right way. Now, just north of us is a town called Franklin, Tennessee. You all may have heard of it, may not. If you haven't, it's a charming community. They have a beautiful community theater that they restored that's called the Franklin Theater. And we're in connection with all of these historic theaters, of course, to try to gain knowledge and share ideas with each other and support. But what we get down here is, well, we don't want to be another Franklin because, literally you can't find parking places and it's overrun, but there's not a day that you don't go down there that there's hundreds of people walking on the street and buying things in the stores
Yeah,
and
that can't be bad for the economy.
no, and they have great schools. And that's what I told them. I said, if you let some of these outside folks come in and spend some money and actually like stay at the hotel and eat at our restaurants and come see a show, on average, they're spending $100 a person when they come in and do such a thing. Why would you not want that in your community? So that's my purpose. I've been running for county commission since we moved here. But I'm not from here. And that's the other nut to crack.
Where are you from?
I
Where
like
actually are you
locals.
from?
I'm from North Alabama, but originally from Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. So did you just touch on the League of Historic American Theaters? Is that
I did. I
so?
did.
Let's
It's one
talk a little bit about that.
Yes, that's one of my favorite places on earth. In fact, they've got a conference coming up in Milwaukee that I hate that I'm not going to get to go to this year. They are an organization that's been around for, gosh, they started in 1976. Ken Stein is the director of it, and they are the biggest coalition of theaters that are functioning, theaters that are not functioning, like our Antoinette Hall. And it's just a support system from ticketing to carpet to architecture to design people, you name it, any aspect of it. And the conferences touch on your concessions and everything it takes to run it, your government. But they are just a massive support system, and online chats that are just fantastic. I believe these group things just are such a way to go, because you just a networking, sitting in front of your computer, you can network, like you said, from people across the world and get ideas. So we really love the league. Their website is actually down for a little repair right now, but check them out. And it's LHAT, so it's easy to remember. But they are really, really something. They do regional conferences. Ours was at the Fox Theater in Atlanta last year, and then they do the national ones. And this year it's in Milwaukee. So yeah, check them out. They're fantastic.
So, do you have any approximation of how many venues they they don't really control anything. They're just
No,
it's just a consortium. It's a
sure.
it's a
They
support group.
actually, yep, they actually, it says since being founded, the league has grown to over 1,100 users, representing 380 historic theaters and organizations, small, big, all over the place. Film houses, theaters, like I said, shut down, not shut down. They run the whole width of it.
Okay, interesting. I just want to remind the room that you are encouraged to put questions and comments into the chat. We consider that a positive thing. I know there are places where people say, "Ah, don't do anything in the chat. Stay out of the chat. Don't distract me." But I like you to use the chat. I'd like you to raise your hand virtually if you have something that you want to comment on or a question you want to ask. Just be part of the conversation here. So I want to go back to the the challenge of
Mm,
running anything that's arts related in this country in general, and in particularly an area that is as uh, unfamiliar, shall we say, with arts programs as your area is. Um,
right.
how do you keep it going? Do you have any state or city support?
We do have state support, huge state support. The last grant that I got was a 550,000 grant from the governor. That was during COVID. We also were awarded the Shuttered Venues Grant, a SVOG, that I'm sure several theaters that were on the verge of collapse, because literally we thought, of course, when COVID hit and the industry, did what it did, we just knew that we were done. I mean, everybody thought that, but we thought, our budget is so small, and in what we have to make to keep going. The building's paid off. We've got utilities and insurance. What else do we need? I mean, we're okay. And we started trying to do online things with the kids, doing virtual stuff, but they wouldn't have any part of it. They're like, we can't be together. We're not doing it. We'll come back, but we're not doing that. So it was really sad for us that they elected to not, because we were all geared up and ready for that programming. But instead, we made use of the time and thought, well, you know what? We've got X amount of money in our bank account. The backstage really needs an overhaul. What a perfect time to do that. And if we don't come back, we just renovated this building and it's okay. It'll be worth something when we sell it. So we did that. We took that whole year and we did a whole renovation of the backstage. We put in handicap accessible restrooms back there. Everything now is accessible. And I did want to share something with you, since you did touch on that, because this is near and dear to our heart too. Every show we do on the Tuesday night before opening, we go ahead and pay for the rights, of course, to do a sensory show. And what that sensory show is it's one where we leave the house lights turned up halfway. We take out all the loud noises in the show. The strobe lights, all of that's out. The actors, sometimes they're mic'd, sometimes they're not. But we do these shows because we have a really strong group in our community who have children that have autism and other disabilities that cause them to either have tics where they're ticking, or they're have to get up and walk, or they might yell out, and they would not be able to go to a normal theater to be exposed to something like this. And we thought, well, why don't we just have a show just for them? And the moms, just all their parents bring them, and we end up having about 30 to 40 people on those nights when we do that. And it's so great for the cast because they feel like it's something important that we're doing to help the kids. And then also it teaches them on the final dress rehearsal for them, basically, that it's if you have distractions out there, you just keep going. So that's been, it kind of has worked out to our favor. And I was approached by our Civitan club, and they deal with special needs. That's the service club, one of them here in town. And I went and spoke at their luncheon yesterday, and they're like, well, we want to sponsor those shows. We think that this is a worthy thing. And on top of that, our folks will come and work the concession stand that night for you and hand out programs. So, that kind of support in a small town, it might be, you might think small town is just really a struggle and all that,
Oh
but
no, I'm moving to a place where they throw money
it
at me.
comes,
They're
yeah, it
throwing
comes
money at you.
together. Yeah, they do. And it's really wonderful, and support, not just money. It's nice that
Yeah.
they have hands on and want to be a part that way. The other thing that we're working on right now, one of our parents in the community has an adult special needs child, and she actually went to the Tennessee courts and got a really wonderful bill pushed through. And we are now in line to get an adult size changing table. So if you haven't heard of that before, check it out. It is a dignified way to be able to tend to the needs of a disabled person in that way in public restrooms. And we're putting one in here in our public restroom in the theater just because,
Well,
that's the going out of your way to make things better. It's not just you can get your wheelchair in here if we move 3 chairs. It's we're going to do something a little bit further to because we understand that. And I'm just so excited. I can't wait for that to happen. That's on the spit for the summer.
the thing about accessibility that we have to always bear in mind is that accessibility refers to audiences as well as to the artistic staff. We had our conversation on Tuesday night about this, and it's just common sense and it's common humanity, not sense necessarily, but it's common humanity to just make things accessible for artists so that they can be part of a production, as well as audiences so they can come and attend a production.
We have all ramps everywhere backstage. Going off the stage to backstage is all ramped now. We've done all of that because we realize that as well. It's very valuable. And even in a little theater like us, we see that.
And you're actually not so little. You're 177 seats, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually for New York's off Broadway for the the small. We have small theaters. We have 30 seats. We have 50 seats. We have 70 seats. It's 177. It's like, oh, a theater, a real space. So congratulations on that. A couple of things I want to catch up here. Marion Zola, the name of the large organization is probably the one you're referring to, is the League of Historic American Theaters, LHAT, League
Right.
of Historic American Theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been made aware of the fact that one of the founders of LHAT, or one of the founders was Michael Price from Goodspeed. We have Mary Miko with us today from Goodspeed, and Michael Price was the guiding light of Goodspeed for many, many years. I think I'm not sure if he was a founder or not. Mary will correct me on that and she'll let me know. And RK is saying there's lots of good examples of theaters being an economic engine for small towns. And RK would know because RK is part of RK. Remind me the name of the company that you're a part of, which that is a sort of a support system for regional theaters.
Oh yeah, that's the Theater Forward, which represented 19 regional theaters and was pushing and getting corporate support for
Mhm.
those theaters. You know, they were mostly the larger theaters, Seattle Rep, Guthrie, etc.
So what would be interesting for STAAR would be for you to network with other small theaters, not even in your area, just
Right.
all over the country. Um, I don't think it is. Do you know, Arcade? Is there a network of small theater companies,
Oh, probably.
small
Yeah.
non-union theater companies? Yeah, somewhere
Yeah,
there must be.
yeah,
And
probably.
if not, you're gonna start it, Tammy. I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
that's right. Well,
Yeah.
the
Hey,
Purple Rose
we,
is a really good one, a really good example. You know, now it was started by Jeff Daniels, who even
oh,
had a profile 25 years ago after he did the Purple Rose of Cairo. But he started a theater company in this little town that was known for the Jiffy cornbread mix, and that was
oh,
it. You know, and it is now an amazing destination for people from Canada, Ohio to come in to see the shows that the Purple Rose do.
that's great. Yeah, when we found out, when we came up to see and recognized that we had rediscovered this hall, I of course went into research mode to find out the history of it, because I'm thinking, for one, how on earth did why Pulaski? Why an opera house in Pulaski? And what we found was it was in 1867, this entire side of the square was burned to the ground. We don't know how it happened. There's lots of stuff flying about how it happened, or some argument over something, and it was arson. And it was burned. And when that happened, this is after the war, so it's kind of depressed times. And Mr. Angenold Cox decided he wanted to build something in the community to lift people's spirits. So he decided to build this hall in it and to bring people together. And he named it Antoinette Hall after his wife. It was later named the Pulaski Opera House. So you could look up either and find the information that would point back to us. But it went on, like I said, until the mid 1930s. It had its ups and downs, of course, but what finally closed it was two movie theaters opened on the square. When the talkies came out, everything, the live stuff just kind of tanked, and there wasn't much of a need for it anymore. But Pulaski is known for a lot of things, some of them not favorable, some of them favorable. But a key point that we were excited to find out is that the first African-American high school in our town graduated on Antoinette Hall's stage. So that was pretty exciting for us to find positive light in sometimes not so positive paintings of your community. So that was exciting. And then as far as like performances that were there, like I said, lots of shows that traveled in, because Interstate 65 was not here. 31 that we're sitting on was the main thoroughfare from north to south. So this was the big thing. In fact, Pulaski at one point was even considered possibly to be a possibility for the capital, but they moved it to Nashville Central State. So, but yeah,
So
the history is amazing.
I want to come back to this in a second, but I also I don't want to forget to mention something that will be wonderful news for all writers. You don't like to do small shows. You like to do big shows. You have as many as 100 kids working on a show, right?
We do. We did 101 Dalmatians, and we had 135 children in the show. We had 101 puppies.
Okay.
Yep.
How
We did
how
it.
did the director survive that?
We had about 50 volunteers, and they each had a pod of kids that they dealt with. No, that's how you do it, is you separate it out. Our directors are wonderful working with children. They're versed at it. We have one director that pretty much all she does is the kid shows. And it's funny because we've kind of gotten known around the region for being the place that trains the kids. And then when they get a little older, they get lured over to the 1,000-seat house theaters where they can be on the big stages, and it's like, they always give us a nod at the beginning of the show saying, we want to thank STAAR Theater for training these kids and then sending them to us.
Good for you. Good for
Kind of like,
you.
we take that as a compliment, although
Yeah,
sometimes it
absolutely.
stings.
No. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
you're basically feeding the arts in your area. You're performing an amazing feat,
It's
really.
a joy. It really is. You really, on days when you've had it up to here with all of the business end of things, which it's hard wearing all the hats running a nonprofit. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that, some of you. It's difficult, and it's a lot of juggling, and a lot of, people, HR, keeping people happy, making sure your parents are happy, making sure the bills are paid, roof doesn't fall in. And we've just had a recent windstorm that blew some of our shingles off, so we've got a roofer. I've got ladders all over up here. It's always something, everybody's got it. But all that to say, it's just, there's still, you walk in there right now and they're in the middle of rehearsing Winnie the Pooh. I can actually hear them singing downstage, and I just smile. So it all goes away.
Do you do any adult performances?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yes,
it sounds like your heart is with the kids and developing the kids, but
yes, it is. But the first production I directed was 1776, the musical, with 27 men and 2 women. That was my first jump off the cliff and direct, and I was addicted. I loved it so much. My husband and I also perform, so that's a lot of fun for us. The second time we did it, we actually got to be in it, so that was fun.
What roles?
John and Abigail.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
perfect,
we got to,
perfect.
yeah, that was fun. And then following that,
till then,
I know, yes. That was a wonderful show. We loved that one. And then, oh gosh, of course, we've done all of the ones that everybody does, Grease, and let's see, we're trying to get Mamma Mia, but it's on tour right now. Everybody wants to do that one.
so you have to get them, you have to license them, you have to get them in the licensing
yes,
office.
that's tough too. That's hard. It's hard, because if they're touring anywhere near you, you're not going to get it if it's out on tour. So
I'm going to just say, I was the producer of a show called Civil War Voices back in 2014, and it's available for licensing, and it would be very available for you.
That would be wonderful. Yes, yes.
Dramatic Publishing is the licensing house.
Okay, DPS. Yep. We just finished Children of the Holocaust. That, and Can You Hear Them Crying? We did that in February for Holocaust Remembrance, and it was a very moving. I mean, it was very moving. We had the young people that were in it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with those 2 plays, but it's basically taken from writings that were found in journals and diaries from those that did not survive. So it was very poignant, and had each of these characters, having their interactions of, are we alive? Are we dead? And they're like caught in between this world, and they're sharing their experiences. It was extremely moving. And we have a director that loves to take the young people. It's not just Disney fun pop, musicals. We love those. I mean, the kids love them, but we love getting into some of the dramatics and having it be a teaching opportunity too. We have local playwrights. We've put on 3 local productions. We challenge folks to come and bring their works to us and let us do readings for them. So that's really fun. I love doing that. I know several of you were talking about writing. I know that Pat has been trying to get Desperate Measures down here for the longest time. We are trying to get it.
That would be Pat Addis. If anybody doesn't know, it's Pat Addis, who was on our board for many, many years, and she's a good friend and supporter of True. And yes, she adores Desperate Measures, and it's absolutely hilarious show.
Yeah,
it really is very funny.
We saw it in New York when it opened up there, and yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And yeah, and we did of course, her show too, the Christmas Story. So it's fun. It's fun to branch out and mix the adults and kids. And gosh, in fact, you were saying that this was your 207th show. I was counting up today for a grant that we're writing, because they were asking us about past productions. And the show we have right now going on is our 210th run since we got in this building.
Not performance, but
correct.
Yes, run. Yeah. Yes.
So how fun is that? I mean, that's
congratulations.
Every other month, it's a new one up there. So
that's the other thing that I want to. I mean, I don't know if there is an answer to this, but how do you manage to keep the steady pace of producing things every other month.
We've got we have 2 shows in rehearsal at any given time. We have usually a children's show, and then a teen or adult, or a teen and adult. Like I said, we just finished Joseph. There were 45 in that, I think, and that was mainly adults, a couple young people, but mainly adults in that one. We've got Always Patsy Cline coming up. We'll throw in little 2-people shows, Arsenic and Old Lace, just kind of weave in some of the older ones too, because that's fun. Tuesdays with Maury, ones where you can let the adults have some stage time, and they don't sell as much as the kid shows do, but they're a lot of fun.
So you have locals who are adults and
Oh.
who love to act.
They fight for the parts. Now, yeah, there's plenty of kids to choose from, but these adults are serious about it. The play that goes wrong, we had like 50 people audition for. It's like,
That's a very difficult play to pull off.
it was incredible. My husband was an engineer before he was an attorney, and man, everything worked like clockwork on that thing. It was fantastic.
That's amazing that you did that. That's not inexpensive either. That's like, you have to put real engineering skill into that, and that's a real set that has to be able to do tricks.
Yeah, and not kill people.
Yeah. You probably had to pay a lot of insurance for that one too.
We did. We added a little extra, I will admit, just because. Yeah.
Mary just further explained the founders she said the founders were essentially a weird gang. Michael Price from the Goodspeed House, Bob Stoddard, then at the Grand Opera House in Wilmington, Delaware, and most important probably Gene Chesley, the theater professor in design from the University of California in Davis. So those are the founders who created the League, the League of Historic American Theaters. LHAT. Yeah. Got it.
LHAT.
Yeah. So Ross, let me ask you, have there been any comments or questions in the room, or have people already been asking? What?
There have not been, no.
Would anybody like to participate in the conversation with us? I can keep talking to Tammy, but I'd love to get you guys involved. Okay, Susan's got her hand up, so sure, go for it.
Excuse me, I'm in my kitchen now. What you were talking about at the beginning about the receptivity of the community reminded me of the receptivity of the community I grew up in, which is only an hour north of New York City, when it started a Shakespeare festival. And this was in the 60s, and I didn't come in till towards the end of the 60s, but no, maybe mid 60s. But they were the hippie commie freaks, as they came to be known later. By the time the Columbia protest of 68 was going on, there were these divisions among who is who in any given town. So even as close to New York City as we were, there's this, mindset about the artsy types. And I just applaud you for whatever you've done to break through that, because you're there. And
yeah, I have to tell you, Tammy, before meeting you and talking to you, I found the idea of what you do to be terrifying. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it is some days. If I let myself go there, thank you. No.
Happy to help.
I won't sleep tonight now, man. No. You just have to trust the people around you and the people you put in place to do things. And I feel like that's probably the best takeaway, is that you need to get a good support staff. And I'm not saying that the last 17 years have not had their bumps and people who don't fit and they cause ruckus, and you have to, figure out how to make do and deal. And that does happen. But, for the majority of it, it's really been a sweet ride. And like I said, people's hearts are in it for the right reason, and they all want to be a part. Now, that does mean that most of the time when they're young people go into teenagers and they move off and go to college or move to New York, like several of them have done, you get a whole new batch of people. But when you're doing things with the young people all the time, starting at 5 and 6 years old, you're constantly ushering in a new group. In fact, we're all the time, our education directors are all the time looking at the age group of kids that are participating. And are they boys? Are they girls? Right now, we have about 50 12-year-old girls. So we're looking for shows that we can put 50 12-year-old girls in. So it's always like you're looking for things to fit what you got.
I
What-
have
what
an
you
idea for you,
What?
which is this is my big exposure to Tennessee in recent years, which is I joined a book club.
Oh, good.
And read, it was brief, but we read Christie, which if you homeschooled, I think maybe you've read Christie also with your kids.
Might
And
have.
if that got converted to a show, I mean, the school is
Ooh.
always full of kids. So I passed that on.
That's a great
Yeah.
idea. Yeah, keep them coming.
You know, there was a lot, you know, there were political issues to be dealt with then and there. But it was so evocative of the place. And even though I've been through Tennessee, but didn't just through it.
You
So-
didn't just stay? Yeah, no. Most of the people who come through Tennessee don't leave.
Well, we were on the Blue
I'll
Ridge
bear
Park.
that in mind.
No, in fact, right now, I think the last 6 families that came in and auditioned for Winnie the Pooh that we have going now with their young children, we literally have 6 brand new families that have moved here from California. So there's a lot of California folks, a lot of Michigan come in this direction. It's, you know, it's beautiful country and it's a quieter pace of life, and yeah, it's kind of neat. I like it. I mean, like we were talking about though, some of the locals that have been here forever, like, they don't know if they want things to change. And it's like, well, you know, it will, and you just have to be welcoming to everybody, and they're delightful. We're having a great time getting to know new people and bringing them in. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you before we finish today, I want to ask you a little bit about your plans for renovating the house, the opera house, because I know that that's a dream of yours, and I just was curious how you're planning on making it happen.
Well, really running STAAR Theater and Antoinette Hall is 2 separate entities. We say it's one because we're all under one roof and under one nonprofit, but the renovation of Antoinette Hall, and every day that we're downstairs, and I know that Antoinette Hall is upstairs just waiting, oldest opera house in Tennessee. I believe it's in the top 5 oldest in the nation. We're still trying to figure that out. But gosh, you'd think that something like that would have just a tremendous value to artists, not only artists and theater people, but also musicians, also historians. So we have a lot of different ways to go with fundraising. And we're actually in a mode right now. We've got our design and our beautiful new business plan. But this is the plan for the building that we want to do. If I can get it there without
There,
being
that's
too-
perfect. That's perfect.
Okay, great. So that is the entire corner. This part on the top, we're probably going to change. That kind of looks like an airport terminal to me, and I've expressed this to our architect, and he agreed. We want to maintain the historic, ness of it. But the keyed wing wall architecture that's at the front doors is also mimicked in the stage as well, which is really beautiful. But that top piece that you see up there, we want that to be a rooftop restaurant that overlooks the downtown square and our stunning courthouse. We have the most beautiful courthouse in the entire state. So that's a plus, is that this space that I'm sitting in right now. So right now, this is that's going to be bad.
Yeah. Okay.
is-
Got it.
Okay. So
Over
that's
to you, towards you a little bit. Okay.
toward
there we
me.
are.
Okay.
No, I mean,
So that,
that way.
okay.
I'm
Sorry.
probably going the wrong way. There we are. There we got it. We got it
Okay.
perfect.
So that's us right now. That's today. This is us
It
back in the day.
looks very solid from the outside.
Structure, yeah,
not
structure-wise,
till you
it's
go inside.
amazing.
I mean, right now,
Yeah. Inside is another story.
yeah. There,
This is
is that the
that's the inside,
up,
the stage.
and that's the top floor.
That is upstairs under the mansard roof. I wish I could take you in there. You got to go check out the website and look at that 360 because it really is incredible. And our whole story about the history of the hall and who performed there and why and all of the history is in there. It's extensive. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, whatever your beverage of choice is, and just enjoy the rabbit hole because it's our historian is wonderful. She's been on our board as long as I have, and she just loves digging for new information and keeping it correct. But the biggest thing we're going to do as far as the renovation goes, the master plan is the entire, now look, you saw that space we have. So the entire basement of both of these buildings is a whole floor below ground. We have a basement under all of this. So right now it's our scenic shop, it's our storage, we've got a few classrooms set up down there, but we want that to be our entire education floor, and it's accessible from the rear. There's a big parking lot behind the building, and it's accessible at street level from there. So it's, underground from the sidewalk out front. And then you've got the main floor, which is our box office. We have a couple rehearsal spaces over here behind our office. And then of course the main hall where the 177 seat house is and backstage. And then upstairs, of course, we have Antoinette Hall. So the grand master plan is to bring Antoinette Hall back to its 1868 state. We want it to look like you're stepping back into the 1800s, just as original as possible. Of course, they won't be gas globe footlights, but we will mimic that. We don't want to have anything modern looking that you see when you walk in. We want it to look like you're walking into the 1800s. Now, these ante rooms out here will be our lobby area, our restrooms. We've got a freight elevator that drops the people and things and instruments and things off on the stage. And then we'll have a passenger elevator beside that goes to all floors. And of course, the one going all the way to the top where the rooftop restaurant is above where I'm sitting now. So all of that, just that little bit, we can do that pretty easy.
Sure.
It's raising the money, it's all about the dollar. And we're looking at probably a $15 million ticket. It's not tiny for us. That's pretty massive. And phase one is about $2 million, and that's stabilizing the building. Because if you go and watch the video that's online, you'll see that there's cabling upstairs from one end of the room to the other and crisscrossing back and forth. And what that's doing is that's holding the front and the back wall in from bowing out. You've got this big mansard roof on this thing, and these walls are pushing out. So we got about a 6-inch gap in the front. It hasn't gone anywhere in about 10 years. So we're secure now, but we know that stabilizing comes first. Once we start that project, we almost have to have the whole amount because we'll be out of a building. Our theater company will not be able to be here once that stabilization takes place, and we'll have to have another location. So the master plan is for us to find the supporters and funding to do what we just talked about. And then in the process, STAAR itself is going to be looking for another piece of property to put its children's and community theater, because this is a music venue. This is straight up a one hard set, small, intimate, not black box, but something more intimate than what we can't put 100 kids on this stage. It's much smaller. So we want this to be a music venue and a smaller poet night venue, a songwriters venue, that type of thing. And of course the theater. It'd be nice if we had an opera singer. Actually, Thomas Studebaker came several years ago. He's a famous tenor. And he came and actually sang on the stage and said, "Oh my gosh, he wants to be there on opening night." And I said, "I want you here on opening night too."
Yeah, you can make that happen.
Sure. So yes, that is the goal right now, is just to start chipping away. And it's one of those where you jump off the cliff with the major fundraising campaign, you can't stop. You have to see it through, because these people depend on you when they contribute to do what you say, and it's do or die. I mean, you've got to keep going till you get it, and that's where we are right now, is getting ready to launch this thing. We have had a couple people approach us to buy it. but they don't want to save the hall. They want to turn it into an antique shop, or they want to turn it into a hotel. And I'm like, nope, you're not getting it unless your heart is in the right place and you sign a contract telling me you're going to restore it. If not, deal's off.
If
So,
anybody randomly sees this and is interested, can you give somebody an email or a website or something so that they can?
yes, I put it in the chat, but yes, so you can go to AntoinetteHall.com. You can go to startheater.org.
Star Theater
and
was STAAR.
two
Theater,
A's,
theater with an
R-E.
ER or RE? Okay.
R-E. Yeah.
STAARTHEATRE
Yep. .org.
.org.
And that'll get to me. My information is on there. And Tammy Pierchoski, or Tammy at AntoinetteHall.com will get you too. That'd probably be the easiest to remember instead of my last name.
Antoinette, ANTOIN.
ETTE.
It's one NETTE, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. So we'll get that information out. And just curious, there you go. Good, good. That was a good idea. Mary Miko, as one of the people at Goodspeed, is there anything that you would want to tell Tammy or suggest to Tammy, or any kind of advice you could give her, other than help? Good
I
luck.
know. Yeah, right.
I was recently in Oklahoma City for a conference, and the Lyric Theater of Oklahoma became the state theater, and they felt that that gave them more access to funding. And I'm just wondering if that's something you might want to consider.
We have
There's
actually
only one allowed in each state.
in each state. Yes. Yes. We are open to anything. If my view right now is, because we've been at this so long, 17 years, we've been in this building. If someone were to come up to me and say, I want to support this and I want to do it, but I'm not going to write a blank check to a nonprofit. I mean, we've had people say, you guys are doing a great thing, but how do I know that it's going to get done like you say? I mean, it's just the way people are sometimes. And it's like, if someone came to me and said that they would do it, we would certainly step out of the way, because it's not getting any younger. And the more it sits and is through this condition of the hot and cold and hot and cold, you know, we put a new roof on it a couple of years ago, so that it bought us time, of course. But we know that it's years are numbered. You can't just let these buildings sit like this in this kind of condition. And there's nothing we can do. If we can't heat and cool it up here, then you're just going to have that decay and deterioration year after year. So we're open to, you know, I'd love to still be a part of it. If someone were to come in and say, I'll write you a check, I want to buy it, I want to do this thing, we would move out of the way and let that happen, hoping that they would let us have a participation in some small way, of course, because we've carried the torch and we love it so. But yeah, I didn't know I was going to say that, but I said it. So there.
What Mary's kind of suggesting is that if you could do a capital campaign if you can get support for it to become the Tennessee State Theater, and that might.
Do we
attract.
have one? Is there one in Knoxville though? I think there's a state.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll have to look into that, Mary. Thank you for that information, because yeah, we would not be opposed to it being something like that. That would be fantastic, because that would be a whole new push.
Yeah, that would be a whole. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to end now, and I'm going to thank you, Tammy, for being here and
Thank you
for coming up here all the way from Tennessee.
Right, I know. I miss New York. My daughter, when she lived up there, we were up there. She was there 8 years, and I was up 2 or 3 times a year and loved it. But yeah, she's in Miami now. So who is Miami?
My niece is in Miami, and Johnny Palermo,
Johnny's in
Palermo.
Miami.
Yes,
Yeah.
Johnny Palermo. Where is he still
Yeah.
here? Yeah, he's
He
still
is.
with us.
That's
He's
me.
still in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
She's in Kendall now, so she loves it. I mean, they moved right before. They moved down in 2019 in December. They moved down, and but she loved New York when she was up there. It was Pat's the one who got her going up there, and she did some off-Broadway,
of course.
regional. She had fun doing regional theater all over the place. We followed her everywhere, so it was fun. But then met a musician and got married, and he's a performance trumpet player, and they're in Miami. So
Well, so it sounds good. It sounds good. You have two other kids, right? That's
do.
That's one of three. So,
That's one of three. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one actually works for NASA. He's designing the landing gear on the lunar lander right
oh
now.
my
That's his.
God.
I know, isn't it cool? We just found out he got a new job title
That
this
should
week.
become
We're like,
could become an advertisement for
we're over the moon,
homeschooling.
right? See, we're not all that bad. We can teach our kids.
That's pretty impressive. I'm going to end now, and I'm going to go into my speaker view thing, and I'm just going to say thank you to my viewers. I'm going to thank you to the people in the room. I so appreciate that you coming in every week and supporting this work that I'm doing. I love doing these, and I'm going to keep doing them. So plan on joining us Fridays for the next, I don't know how long, but it'll be a long time. I will always welcome. I have been welcoming everybody for Pay What You Can. I had a serious conversation with one of my board members about the fact that she thinks that there is genuine value in what we do here, and those of you who have been paying what you can, and those of you who haven't been paying anything, which is sometimes what Pay What You Can is, please consider showing us that you value this by giving us some support. You can always go to truedonate.com, trudonate.com, and give us a donation, or you can join as a member. Members, of course, all programming, well, most programming from True is free or at reduced prices for members. So you know that's still, I still welcome you to come just as members. But people that aren't members, please consider being members and please consider donating. It's not sustainable to not be getting any income on for this weekly event that I'm doing. Probably keep it going for maybe another year, but I don't think much more than that. So consider supporting us. TRU online, no, TRU donate, True Donate, trudonate.org. And join us in the future. And as I said earlier, if you are just discovering us and you don't know us, first of all, I want you to know that we're an arts organization. We're a not-for-profit. We basically support and educate people about the business of theater and help all artists, but we also have a particular interest in helping producers, people on the business side of things. So maybe you want to become a part of us. You can go online and check us out, trueonline.org, trueonline, truonline.org. And that's it. See you next week. See you in the weeks to come. Come back. Be with us. Be part of us. Thank
I
you.
would love that.
Thank you,
I love it.
guys.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. You have, we'll put you on the list too, Tammy.
I would love that. I mean, I'm the one who produces all the shows here at the theater, so I would be honored to be a part of the group. I think that's fantastic.